There is no D&D adventure that can avoid travel. We might do our best to ignore it by describing it in a sentence or two, but it's unavoidable that your party will have to go from one location to another location. Originally, I actually recorded this video in my hotel room in California. However, after listening back to the audio and realizing that I would have to work on this in the wee hours I had during my work trip, I decided that I would just scrap it, keep the script, come back home, record it and edit it at home. The hotel that I was staying at was a 5-hour flight away from my home in Toronto, which got me thinking, if someone were to try to do that same journey 200 years ago, it would have been incredibly long and incredibly dangerous to do. If our plane had traveled together on foot and by horse, just like many people did 200 years ago, a lot of us wouldn't have made it if any of us made it at all. Traveling in real life is tiresome, it's boring, it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, and in the past, it definitely took a lot of risk. Dying from disease, dying from exhaustion, dying of starvation, dehydration, just being murdered. There's so many ways that you could have gone out during this time. Before we can even consider how we're going to put travel into our games, we have to concede that travel is really boring. Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite books, but man, do you need to find overcomplicated explanations of they walk interesting to enjoy it, which really isn't a thing for a lot of people. Plenty of DMs will try to make their travel interesting by adding random encounters during their travel, which is effective. During a long travel, you are likely to cross paths with many people and creatures, some of which may be dangerous. But I'm worried that DMs might decide that this is the only way to show travel, when there are more options. Yeah, bears and other people were a threat to people originally traveling across America, but this wasn't all the deaths. A very major threat to travel is the environment. There's an assortment of towns across the US right where you would start to see the mountains over the horizon. Many of these were built as people traveled to California, to the west side to see what was there, saw the mountains they'd have to climb, and went, you know what, I don't want to do that, I'm just going to stop right here. Consider maybe your party are traveling to a far location, and they find that they have to scale a mountain to get up, and when they're going down, they realize that the only way down is now a steep cliff, so they have to be clever to find a safe way down or around. Or maybe they're traveling a normal path, but a bridge has been swept away in a storm. Again, they have to decide to go over or take the time and try to go around if going around is even possible. You'll have to get creative with a higher level party, as most environmental challenges are going to be solved easily by basic 3rd and 4th level spells. A way to increase this challenge is to make the party bring a horse and a wagon that carries food and supplies for them, so they'll have this big, clunky, awkward thing they'll have to handle, or make the tough decision of leaving it behind and completing the journey on their own. But yet again, at a certain level, these problems aren't exactly problems. Also, you can throw away travel once your wizard gets the ability to start teleporting all over the place. At that point, what can you do? Like, you can't do much. You can teleport. This is also going to require, at least for travel, for the party remember how much food they're bringing, how much water they're bringing, who's holding the food and water. I normally don't recommend this for everyday type of adventures, but if you're doing a very long travel from one side of a continent to another side of a continent, then this might be something that you want to take into consideration. Making players use their resources and get to wherever they're trying to get to with levels of exhaustion or important items they've had to use, it will make them feel like the travel was an actual journey they had to take, a journey with sacrifice, a journey that took a lot out of them, versus the casual, oh, well, then you go over here and it takes this amount of time, and you don't really get the scale of how big the world is and how difficult travel would be if you were to be one of these adventurers. Alright, so you've traveled from wherever you were from to wherever you were going to, but that's not the end of travel. Another thing that I noticed about LA is that it just looks so different compared to where I'm from. The buildings are brighter and they're made of different materials. The roads are stranger, like they look different. There's a fog in the air. Everything about the place made it feel totally unlike where I had been before. Obviously, because this is a different part of the equator on a different side of the continent, but this is something that we should consider when having characters travel in Dungeons and Dragons. If your party are traveling, especially somewhere far away, make it feel different. Your new location should have a distinct personality and culture compared to the other place. It's really the little things that you'll point out that will make it feel unique. Mention the trees, the smell, the sounds, the architecture. Reference how your party might be used to things looking one way and are now realizing that in some places they look another way. And give your party some culture shock. Maybe when you originally built the setting, you built the place where they were living, a place where magic was banned and they had to be very subtle about when they were using magic. Maybe traveling to this new place, they're much more free and open about where you're allowed to use magic, and it's going to be a shock to them when everyone's just carrying around their wands and magic materials and casting spells willy-nilly. Anyways, I'm going to end the video there. I feel like there's more that I could say, but I think I hit the main parts that I wanted to hit. The ways that you can make travel more interesting, and what you need to consider what happens after the travel, which is the destination. Anyways, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more, and this is the end of the video.